They're driving us out of our own neighborhood. Blues in the big city.
Mara Guzman, I'm director of the Mission Neighborhood Resource Center, a homeless drop-in center half a block away from here. And today I'm going to be your MC with my dear comrade and fierce housing and anti-eviction warrior Tommy Avicola Mecca from Housing Rights Committee. Let's give it up to Tommy.
Come on,
we're here today because some big and scary changes are coming to our beloved 16th Street BART Plaza. An 82 million development, 2 10-story buildings on that very corner, right across. Check it out. With 351 residential units at a $3,500, $5,000 a month. What do you guys think? Boom! They're gonna build also a basement garage for 161 cars. They will cast a shadow on Marshall Elementary School for more than 5 months of their school year. Hunan Restaurant, The Market, Burger King, and City Club will be removed, leaving workers without a job in a community without small business that have belonged in the neighborhood, who add to the cultural richness of our neighborhood and who offer access to food to our low-income communities. We're here representing Plaza 16 Coalition, which builds on decades of planning and organizing in the mission. Many of us created El Plan Popular. Raise your hand if you were in El Plan Popular. Yes. We spent a decade doing a community process that was incorporated into the city plan but has not been implemented yet. We're inviting all of you today to join our coalition and our principles and to stop Maximus Real Estate from developing market rate luxury housing in our neighborhood unless it's tailored to meet the needs for truly affordable housing in the mission.
That's right.
So I'm gonna shout our principles, and I wanna hear if you wanna join us in our principles. Do you want this neighborhood? Welcoming streets for grandmothers, kids, tenants, people who are homeless. Streets that reduce hazard and increase pedestrian safety and cultural vibrancy. Say yes. I lost the beat. Do you want a local economy, a small business that thrive and serves the needs of local residents and workers and supports the creation of good jobs for us? Yes.
No commercialization.
Do you want planning that is conducted by people who live and work in the neighborhood? Say yes. Do you want to stop the policing of homeless and poor people? Say yes. No more market rate housing development until the needs for deeply affordable housing are met.
Yes.
So before I pass the mic to Tommy, I want to tell you the story of how we kind of ended up doing this coalition again. You know, we fought the first .com, this is the second, and we know it's big and it's giant and it's really scary. And what happened is in the summer of last year, we started seeing very fancy signs of merchants that said, clean up the plaza. And we all got nervous about those signs. One, because they were very fancy. So someone had money to put those signs. And then we couldn't find out who was behind those signs. Or who is still, we don't know who's organizing clean up the plaza. So what happened is, within 3 months in September, we had a police occupation of our plaza. Necesito que me dejes hablar. Gracias, hermano. So we had the police occupation, and all of a sudden, the displacement of people who have lived at this plaza for decades. Our folks are now displaced throughout the community. They're hustled every day, and they don't have yet a place to sleep, a place to shower, and a place to go to the bathroom at day or at night. So what happened after that is that we started seeing the connection between that building and the clean up the plaza and occupation of 16th Street. Do we want that occupation?
No!
You know, to tell the truth, there is only one thing that ends homelessness, and that's called a home. Let's go homes that are affordable for all
because evictions are through the roof and people are getting evicted by the thousands. There's an absolute lack of affordable housing, and the rents are the highest in the country, if not the world. That to me spells a housing crisis. I don't know about you, but that's a housing crisis. They want to put market rate condos across the street. What do we say to that?
No.
We
No
know
more.
what happens when you put market rate housing in a working class neighborhood. More people get evicted, the rents get higher, and it doesn't create any affordable housing for anybody.
It creates greed.
So what do we want? We don't want condos. What do we want? We want affordable housing. We want housing for the people who need it the most in our neighborhood, right? We don't want it for rich people who are going to move into our neighborhood and kick out the people who already live here, right?
So, ¿qué es lo que queremos? ¿Queremos condos? No. ¿Qué queremos? Vivienda para la gente que más lo necesita y la gente que vive en la comunidad.
Okay, and are we going to fight for that? Vamos a luchar. Vamos a luchar.
So among of the issues that are going to impact Marshall Elementary is not only that we're going to have 5 months of shadow throughout the year, but also the demolition is going to bring rat infestation to our school and our children. So we have had already evidence of where there is construction next to schools, there is an increment of health conditions for the children. We are already suffering. We've seen children suffering from asthma. We don't want these conditions to be worsened by this building. So the PTA is ready to fight. We don't want our children to keep being displaced from the city. Where are the children of the city that were here? They're in Pinal, in São Paulo, in Richmond, because they can no longer live in the city.
Right.
We cannot have a city that doesn't have children any longer. Heather Riloff from the amazing empanada place Chile Lindo.
All right, brother.
This is the time when we have power as a community. We're in a position to negotiate with those that are trying to come into our community. And we have to make the most of this opportunity now. Y tenemos que hacer lo más que podamos acerca de esta oportunidad ahora. And why are we in a position of actually doing something? Because we have the press looking at this issue, because the city is going through a traumatic experience of displacement, and because we have a real foundation to make the demands so that the small businesses in the community, the school like Marshall, and the people that live in our community are not going to be more affected by the changes that we're seeing. We all have month-to-month lease as a small business owner. That gives you no security when you're running a business. And that's the way we run our businesses in this community. And how much do we contribute as a small business to this community? People tell me, oh, this is going to be good for business. It is not good for my business when my community is displaced. It is not good with my business when I have 2 years of construction on both sides of the street. That tower and the one on South Van Ness and 16th Street is going to block the light of all the offices in the Redstone building. And we wanted solar panels in the Redstone building. That's no longer a possibility if we're going to be in the shadow of 2 huge constructions. We as a community need to continue giving each other support and supporting those that are being displaced today, because that gives them the emotional strength. People feel embarrassed because they're displaced. They feel embarrassed. It's as if they did something wrong. It is a system that has perpetually benefited the corporations over the people that do the work. Money pouring into San Francisco is coming from Philadelphia corporations, from China, from Wall Street. It is us that have to put pressure on the politicians so that they do their job, and we're actually helping their cause by standing up and speaking up. So keep it going. Thank you for the amazing work that all the organizers are doing, and may this be the beginning for something much greater, and I think we can feel it in the city.
And with that, I'm going to pass it to Jeff Creech. Jeff is the organizer for Women's Community Clinic in the Mission Israel Collaborative.
And the gentrification that's been happening, according to Scott Wiener, Supervisor Wiener, is that San Francisco is a city of about 800,000 people, that 2 to 3 million people want to live here. Well, in this article, they totally forgot about the people that live here. And my clinic, we serve about 250 women in the community here, a lot of them living in the SROs around the neighborhood, utilizing the drop-in center, the Mission Neighborhood Resource Center. And our numbers have been increasing. People have been on the street, homeless. In preparation for this high-rise that they're planning on building, there's been a large police presence here, and it's been pushing the women into the neighborhood, and they become victims of violence. Women are the foundation of our community, and there's a war on them. What we need is these big businesses to invest in the community, to give money to places like the Drop-In Center, the Mission Neighborhood Resource Center, the Mission SRO Collaborative, the Women's Community Clinic Outreach, the programs that help build people in the POP and TAR programs, that give people the skills to give back to the community. We need them to quit pushing people into the community, into the neighborhoods where they become victims of violence, and criminalizing them for sitting down. I find it appalling that somebody who has a nice job, a nice desk, that I couldn't even afford to live in one of these places. So we need affordable housing, we need to stand up, we need to be able to use our vote and vote for supervisors that believe in us and support us. We have elections coming soon, and we need to use that power that we have and vote people in like Supervisor Campos who believe in us.
So tenemos que apoyar a la gente que realmente cree en nosotros. Ahora vienen las votaciones, tenemos que votar por aquellos que realmente nos van a representar en City Hall.
Yeah! And so remember, you know, we're all just one paycheck away from being homeless.
And I am a proud Latina family business owner of Puerto Alegre, down the street on Valencia Street.
Love Puerto Alegre.
I want to tell my story. Many years ago, my father had the opportunity. Many years ago, my father had the opportunity to buy a small restaurant. He, along with 4 of his brothers and all of our family, lived upstairs in the small apartments and shared the work of the restaurant. They showed us that we too could learn to work hard and live good lives with our families in this community, our community. Today, I lead my family in our restaurant, Puerto Alegre, which has been in the mission for over 40 years. Our families are in the community, still living above the places that we work, our children attending and supporting neighborhood schools, Marshall, St. Charles, Everett, Mission High, and more. We're members of Poder, people organizing to demand economic and environmental rights, supporting Latino artists, Latino communities, and much, much more. Survived many changes in our mission.
That's right. That's right.
But it's not only about those people, it's about all people. All people that live here in San Francisco. We deserve a quality life. We deserve a good job.
Just many years ago to the frenzy of gentrification that is happening today. They were our neighbors, but mostly our friends. They had been there for over 20 years. Soon following, I received a letter from the Planning Commission that a restaurant was coming up in their place. Okay. So I am here today to say that projects like this one that's happening there, that come in with lots of money and don't take into consideration what is here, what has been here, the needs of our community, our needs, need to be slowed down and stopped. Because this is our home, and it needs to be a place where we, along with our families and our community, can continue to live and prosper.
We want to say that this is like Paula said at the beginning. Este es el comienzo. So what we want is that we have people join our coalition. We're ready to open it up. We meet twice a month at Poder. We're going to have to devise a means to do a town hall. Queremos hacer un town hall, pero vamos a seguir reclutando. Queremos endorsements. We want endorsements, individual. we want business, we want organizations. Queremos que las personas hagan el endorsement, que los pequeños negocios y las organizaciones. And we also want to join efforts with tenants throughout the city.
That's right.
Queremos unirnos con todos los inquilinos que están peleando toda la ciudad. We want to join eviction, San Francisco Free Eviction. We want to join San Francisco Anti-Displacement Coalition. We want to join the Coalition on Homelessness. All of us together are powerful people. Yes, yes. And this is the city with more, still more tenants than any city in the United States. We still got the power.
It's not just something for people with a lot of money, right? Es para todos. Todos, ¿sí? Es para la gente. Toda la gente. It's for everybody. Affordable housing, right? We don't want housing for the rich. No queremos viviendas para los ricos.
No.
Para la gente. Toda la gente. ¿De acuerdo? We want housing for everybody, right?
Everybody.
Especially the people who need it the most. Especialmente para gente que necesita la vivienda lo más.
Housing should not be a
Más.
privilege.
We want housing for the people who need it the most. Right?
Yes.
Are we going to fight for this? Vamos a luchar para este.
Yes.
Vamos a lucharlo.
Yes.
Vamos a luchar.
Yes.
Are we going to fight?
Yes.
Vamos a luchar.
Yes.
Are we going to fight?
Yes.
Vamos a luchar.
Yes.
¿Cuándo? When? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo? Let's say it together in English and Spanish. ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo? ¿Cuándo?
Transient picking up a cigarette butt out of the gutter after a rainstorm, and I got so depressed I had to go back home and write this song. So this is all about the Mission District. It's called Blues in the Big City. It's also called the 16th and Mission song. Yeah, blues in the big city. Yeah, 16th and Mission. Yeah, got some day in there. Blues in the big city. Yeah, 16th and Mission. Seems like every time you go out, yeah, there's some kind of fight. Blues in the big city.
Getting ready to do your powers speech.
So many things, yeah. So many things I just don't see. This song is about the Mission District. 16th and
The main thing is MCLR lets you have your kids back if you're a cannabis patient, so that's fantastic. The other ones don't. The Jack Herrera, and of course the other one, which would be where it's not a ballot initiative, it's more of a showing up, hey, here she is, my guest. So CRTM is not as much of a ballot initiative as it is an imposition by the Assembly in Calmamiano, right? So the other two are ballot initiatives, and I heard that there's more ballot initiatives as well, more than two for California.
We're actually looking at maybe even 5 or something, a little bit unmanageable, and it's actually.
Can we get a studio shot? Studio shot, just both of us. Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
It's actually a little bit alarming because, you know, with the MCLR 2014 ballot, we had over, 1,000 activists really participating in creating something that would be universally accepted amongst the activists. And then you have sort of DPA trying to act as the Illuminati top-down people saying, hey, we didn't work with everybody, but you know, ours is always the best because we have the money and the name. And that's worked for them so far, but hopefully this time it won't. Hopefully everybody can really, you know, call it what it is and say, hey, if you had useful pointers or a way that you wanted to work with the California community, maybe working with us the last year would have been the path.
Which reminds me, you did add some input to the MCLR ballot initiative. You were saying, I wanted to learn more about what kind of language, how you added to the language.
Well, it was the first group that really approached me about the needs of people who provide for people that are low income and for low income people. And so we worked out a portion of the legislation that enables and really gives some rewards to people who are willing to provide for not just low income, disabled patients and veterans, but also families that have children that are either chronically or severely ill, to be able to get their medicine for free and to be able to get sort of a category assigned to what is a compassionate caregiver. And it's sort of part of how do we keep California compassionate. And nobody else has ever asked for that, you know, in legislation except for Dave Hodges, DJ Kuti, Bob Bowerman, and John Lee. Nobody else has asked how do we assure that the people who need the medicine the most that can't afford the market rates are able to get less toxic health care, right? Because that's really what it is. I mean, if you're looking at your child having a seizure every day and being told you can give them this toxic cocktail, you know, the choices that weigh on a mother's heart, you know, or they could have a cannabis lollipop and get through the day and have less toxicity. The choice is pretty obvious, right? But then how do we support the provider that's going to grow that medicine for free for that family?
So does that sort of tie into this Steele Smith compassionate grower that I read the article about it, and I think I remember hearing about it too in April of 2010. Now the story cuts off at April 2010. What I've got written down is since 2001, Steele Smith had digestive disorder, ulcers, and was given opiates, and he tried rapid detox, nearly killing him. Steele got a medical cannabis recommendation and goes to a dispensary in LA, then decides that the medicine is so effective for him that he decided to open a small collective. MCD Cannabis helped him regain his health. He wanted to help others. So the safe access that he was helping the community with safe access. So he had 1,000 patients he was serving, and at that time, when just as he was going with 1,000 patients, the police stumbled into his apartment and seized 18 plants, $1,000, patient records, and 4 pounds of medical cannabis with no charges filed. He tried to get his property back, and it wasn't returned. And then later, in 2007, that was in 2001. In 2007, the paramilitary were raided by the feds, who killed his dog, destroyed the home, looking for drugs, leaving the door open for people intruders to just grab what they wanted. And in April 2010, the judge Cormack rules medical marijuana will be heard as testimony. I just wanted to bring you all up on that. So is that good news for collectives?
Well, with Steele Smith, what he's doing is he's involved in the trademark battle with the current lobbyist firm that Steph Shear and Don Duncan created, which is Americans for Safe Access, Patients for Peace, Safe Access Now. They have all these little branch shoot-offs, right? But at the core of it, the trademark battle isn't so much about a design or a name or anything like that. It's that when Steele got out of federal prison, he served 10 months in federal prison, and he actually owns the trademark. But when he got out of prison, what he found was an ASA that wasn't doing the good work, an ASA that was sort of a shallow, more creating monopolies. For example, we have Los Angeles currently slicing the throats of 700 collectives and only having 110 who are all paying money to Don Duncan. So he didn't want what he owned legally to be attached to such short-sighted vision of what drug policy should be. Now, if you want to have a lobbying firm like Steph and Don do, they should just register as lobbyists and be transparent about the fact of which collectives they're sort of trying to create a monopoly for, instead of trying to front themselves off as serving the whole public and all of the patient's needs. So I had a lunch with him today to find out a little bit more about what he was about, you know, because I had kind of heard, oh, well, he's just coming in like, you know, colonizing and saying I own this and, you know, etc. And he doesn't, you know, he has no designs at all at owning AxisOfLove. Nobody ever could except for the AxisOfLove members. But what his real concern is look, I own the trademark and you did terrible things with it. I came out of prison to find out that I own something that's now associated with shutting down 700 collectives in Los Angeles. Do you blame the man for saying, hey, I don't want to be a part of this? But now he's not only saying, hey, I don't want to legally own the trademark that, you know, crucified all these other collectives and really shut out patient access. He's saying, well, what can I do? I don't want to just say, oh, you did this wrong. Now I need to learn how to do this better. And so he interviewed me today about the needs of poor patients in San Francisco. So I found that really promising because to date, nobody's really, other than people running for office, have ever sat down from a drug policy lobbying firm and said, hey, how do we serve poor patients the best? Probably because they're lobbying firms and they're not actually drug policy firms.